Daniel never believed in ghosts. He believed in broken pipes, rats in walls, and the sound of wind through empty rooms. So when he bought the old house at the end of Greywood Road, he only thought of one thing: a fresh start. The house was cheap. Too cheap, the real estate agent said. Old structure, no electricity for years, but strong walls. Daniel didn't ask why nobody wanted it. He just smiled and signed the papers. When he reached the place, the evening sun was falling behind dark trees. The house stood silent, a 2-story wooden structure half-eaten by time. The windows were dusty, and the front door groaned like it hadn't been opened for 100 years. Inside, the air was heavy and cold. His footsteps echoed. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like old curtains. Yet there was something peaceful about the silence until he heard it, a faint sound. A small metallic clink. Clink, clink. Daniel froze. The sound came from the floor under his feet. He waited. Nothing. Then it came again. Slow, steady, like a chain moving gently. He tried to laugh it off. Old pipes, he whispered to himself. But his voice sounded strange in that empty house, as if someone else whispered it back. That night he slept on a mattress in the living room. The lights flickered once, then went out. The wind outside screamed through broken windows. Around midnight, Daniel woke up suddenly. The sound was back, and clink, clink, clink. This time it was louder and closer. He turned on his flashlight and pointed it at the floor. The boards looked old, but still strong. He pressed his ear down and felt a soft vibration, like something breathing under the floor. His heart began to race. Maybe an animal, he thought. Maybe an old water pipe. But deep inside, he knew it wasn't that. The rhythm was too steady. Too alive. The next morning, Daniel went into the nearby town for supplies. He met an old man at the gas station. When Daniel told him where he lived, the man's smile faded. "You bought that house?" the old man asked. "People don't stay there long." Daniel frowned. "Why, is it haunted?" The man didn't answer right away. He just said, "Some things are buried for a reason. That house was never meant for humans." Daniel laughed and drove away, but those words stayed in his mind. Never meant for humans. Back at the house, he started cleaning the basement. It was dark and smelled of rust and dust. Old shelves filled with tools and broken boxes lined the walls. The sound of his broom echoed, until he hit something hard under the dust, a metal plate half buried in dirt. He brushed it clean. It looked like a small hatch about the size of a window. Old bolts sealed it shut, and a faint blue light shone through the cracks around its edge. Daniel stared. The blue light pulsed once like a heartbeat. He stepped back, breathing fast. "No way," he whispered. His hands were shaking. But curiosity was stronger than fear. He fetched a wrench and tried to open the bolts. They didn't move. Rusted tight. He hit one with the wrench, and suddenly, the floor trembled slightly beneath him, just for a second. Then silence. Daniel stood still. The air felt heavy, thicker. Somewhere deep below, a faint voice whispered. Or maybe it was just his imagination. He leaned closer to the floor. Nothing. Only the sound of his own heartbeat. That night he couldn't sleep. The metallic sound returned, now mixed with something else, a soft sigh, almost human. At 2 a.m. the sound stopped. Then 3 slow knocks came from beneath the floorboards. 1, 2, 3. Daniel jumped from his bed. "Who's there?" he shouted. His voice echoed through the empty house. No answer. Only silence. He grabbed his flashlight again and walked slowly to the basement. The air was colder now, his breath visible. The hatch glowed faintly blue again. He knelt beside it, pressing his ear to the metal. For a moment he heard breathing, soft, slow, tired. Then a weak whisper. "Don't open it." Daniel fell back, terrified. The voice was real. It wasn't in his head. He waited, flashlight shaking in his hand. But the voice didn't come again. The glow faded. Only the silence remained, deep and heavy like the earth itself. He sat on the cold floor for a long time, trying to understand what he just heard. Was someone trapped down there? A child, a woman, or something else? By morning, Daniel made a decision. He couldn't live above that sound anymore. He had to know what was under his floor. He got his tools, placed them beside the hatch, and whispered to himself, "Whatever you are, I'm coming for you." The house was silent, too silent, as if it was listening. and somewhere, far below, the faint sound of a chain moved again. Clink, clink, clink. The morning after the strange whispers, Daniel stood in front of the old hatch again. The blue light from the cracks had vanished, but he could still feel warmth coming from below. The air smelled of metal and something strange and like burnt air after lightning. He took a deep breath and whispered, "Let's see what you're hiding." With his tools ready, Daniel worked on the rusted bolts. Each twist made a harsh screech echo through the basement. It was as if the old metal didn't want to open. Sweat rolled down his neck. Every sound felt louder in that silent room. Finally, the last bolt broke loose with a loud crack. Daniel hesitated. The hatch was free now, but something inside him whispered, "Don't." His heart beat faster. He pushed the hatch slowly, and it opened with a low groan. A cold breath of air came out, sharp and heavy. His flashlight beam showed stairs leading down into darkness. A tunnel. The walls below looked strange, not brick, not wood. They were smooth and silver, like metal grown from the earth. Faint blue lines glowed along them, pulsing softly. Daniel whispered, "What is this place?" Step by step, he walked down the stairs. The air grew colder. He could hear the faint clink, clink, clink again, that same sound that had haunted his nights. At the bottom of the tunnel, his light touched something. Someone. A girl. She was sitting on the floor, her head down. Silver chains wrapped around her wrists and ankles. Her skin shimmered faintly in the light. Not pale, not human. It looked smooth like glass, glowing softly under the flashlight beam. Her hair floated slightly even though there was no wind. Daniel froze. Oh my God. The girl looked up slowly. Her eyes were bright, glowing pale blue. For a moment, Daniel couldn't move. Those eyes looked ancient, full of sadness, fear, and something else. "Wisdom," she spoke softly, her voice weak but clear. "Don't free me," Daniel blinked. "What? Who are you? How long have you been here?" Her eyes flickered. "They will come. If I'm free, they will come." Her English was strange. Slow, careful, like she learned it long ago. Daniel moved closer. "You're hurt. Let me help you." When he reached for her chains, a sharp spark jumped from the metal to his hand.
He shouted and fell back.
His flashlight rolled across the floor, its light landing on strange markings carved into the metal walls, symbols, glowing faintly. The girl flinched. "The seal. It's breaking." Daniel looked at his hand, a thin burn across his skin. "What seal? Who did this to you?" She looked down, her expression distant. "My people." Her words hung in the cold air. Daniel stared at her, not sure if he heard right. "Your people?" he repeated. "You mean aliens?" She didn't answer. She only looked up, her blue eyes glowing brighter. "You shouldn't be here, Daniel," he froze. "How do you know my name?" She looked away. "I heard you. Your thoughts, your fear. It reaches down here." Daniel stepped closer again, slower this time. "I don't care what you are. No one deserves to be chained like this." He picked up his wrench and hit one of the metal cuffs. The spark came again, but he didn't stop. The sound echoed through the tunnel, clang, clang, clang. Finally, one chain broke. The blue light on the walls flickered sharply, almost like the place itself was in pain. The girl gasped. "Stop, you don't understand." Daniel hit another chain. Sparks burst again. The tunnel shook slightly. Dust fell from the ceiling. When the last chain broke, silence filled the air. Then a deep humming vibration spread through the floor, not from the house but from somewhere far beneath it. The girl fell to her knees, breathing hard. The glow from her skin brightened until the whole tunnel shimmered. Daniel stepped back, covering his eyes. Then just as suddenly the light faded. She looked up at him, weak but free. "You've doomed us both." Daniel shook his head. "No. You're safe now." But before he could say anything more, a strange sound echoed above them. A faint buzzing, like drones flying high in the sky. The girl tilted her head, fear in her eyes. "They know I'm free." Daniel ran up the stairs, heart pounding. He stepped into the basement and looked out the window. Over the dark forest, faint lights were moving, small at first, then growing larger. The girl appeared behind him silently. Her feet didn't make a sound. She stared at the lights and whispered, "They are here." Daniel looked at her in disbelief. "Who's here?" She turned her glowing eyes toward him. "The ones who chained me." Lightning flashed outside on him, but the sky was clear. The air around the house began to vibrate with a strange hum, deep and mechanical. Daniel felt a cold dread sink into him. He realized this was no dream, no ghost story. This was real. And he had just opened something the world was never meant to find. In the reflection of the window, he saw her, the strange girl with light in her eyes, standing behind him, staring at the sky as the distant hum grew louder. And far above the trees, 3 dark shapes moved through the clouds, shining with cold blue light. The hunt had begun. Daniel couldn't sleep that night. The sound of the strange humming still filled the air around the old house. Every few seconds, the window glass shook slightly, like something powerful was flying above the forest. He sat on the floor near the basement door, holding his flashlight tightly. The girl, the one he had freed, sat quietly in the corner. Her glowing eyes were dim now, and her skin looked pale silver instead of bright blue. Daniel spoke first. "They're looking for you, aren't they?" The girl didn't answer right away. She was staring at the wall, her lips barely moving. "Yes, they will not stop until they find me." Daniel's voice trembled. "Who are they?" She looked at him slowly, and for the first time, Daniel saw fear in her eyes. Not anger, not mystery, but real fear. "My kind," she whispered. "My people." Daniel frowned. "Why would your own people chain you like that?" She closed her eyes. "Because I refused to obey." The room went silent. Outside, the wind had stopped. Even the forest seemed to be holding its breath. Daniel stood up and grabbed a blanket, gently placing it over her shoulders. "You need to rest," he said. "You're weak." She looked at the blanket, confused. "Warmth, thank you." Daniel sat down across from her. "You never told me your name." She hesitated, as if remembering something painful. "Ariel," she said softly. "That was what the humans called me long ago." "Long ago?" Daniel asked. "You've met humans before?" Ariel nodded slowly. "Many years ago. Before your kind learned to fly, before your world was covered with light." Daniel's eyes widened. "That's impossible." Her faint smile held both sadness and truth. "For you, maybe. For me, time is different." A loud boom echoed from outside. The lights in the house flickered. Daniel ran to the window. 3 dark shapes hovered above the treetops. Huge, silent, glowing, faint blue underneath. Ariel stood up. "They found me." Daniel turned to her. "We have to hide." She shook her head. "You cannot hide from them. Their eyes see through walls, through thought." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then we fight." Ariel looked at him with calm sadness. "You are brave, Daniel. But they are not like you. They don't kill with weapons. They erase." Before Daniel could reply, the air inside the house began to hum again, deep and heavy, like a storm about to break. The walls vibrated, dust falling from the ceiling. Ariel's glow flickered weakly. She looked around, terrified. "They're trying to pull me back." Daniel reached out and grabbed her arm. "No, I won't let them." A sudden burst of light flashed from her skin, and Daniel's hand burned. He shouted in pain, falling to the floor. Ariel dropped beside him, shaking. Her voice broke. "I can't control it. Too much energy. Too long in darkness." The floorboards began to crack. Blue light poured through the gaps. Daniel crawled back, staring in shock as the old house groaned like it was alive. Then everything went still. Ariel's eyes opened again, but now they burned bright white. Her voice changed, deeper, stronger, like 2 people speaking together. "Awakening complete," she said. "Containment lost." Daniel stared. "Ariel?" She looked at him, and her gaze no longer weak. It was powerful, glowing with strange energy. The air around her shimmered like heat waves. She floated an inch above the floor. "I remember everything now." Daniel stood slowly, his heart pounding. "What are you?" Her voice softened. "A weapon, created by my kind, meant to destroy worlds that resist them." Daniel froze. "Destroy worlds?" She nodded. "They sent me here long ago to test your planet. But I couldn't do it. I saw your people, your hope, your emotions, your pain. I refused to harm you, so they chained me beneath your earth." Her words hit Daniel like a hammer. "They're coming here, aren't they? To finish what you didn't?" Ariel looked toward the window. "Yes, they will come to cleanse this world." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then we stop them." She turned to him, her eyes soft again. "You cannot fight them. Your weapons mean nothing. But maybe—" She paused, looking at her hands. Maybe there is another way. What way? Daniel asked quickly. Ariel placed her hand over her chest. My core, the energy inside me, and it connects to them. If I can change its signal, I can confuse their machines, make them believe this planet is already gone. Daniel nodded. Then do it. She shook her head weakly. I need power, light. Your world's energy is too weak. Daniel thought for a moment, then pointed to the old generator in the corner. Would that help? Ariel looked at it, her eyes brightening. Yes, but it will burn it out. And maybe me too. Daniel didn't hesitate. If it saves Earth, do it. She smiled faintly. Humans, always ready to sacrifice. That's why I saved you once. Daniel blinked. Saved me? She nodded. When you were a child, you fell into a river near this place. You don't remember, but I was watching from below the ground. I called the wind to push you out. Daniel's breath caught. He had dreamed about that moment his whole life. A strange wind that saved him. Before he could speak, Ariel's body glowed brighter. The generator started by itself. Lights flickered violently. The air filled with a deep electric hum. She whispered, If I fail. Run, Daniel shook his head. No, we do this together. The room exploded with light. Outside, the alien ships shifted suddenly, their blue glow flickering like broken stars. The sky turned white for a moment, then silent. When Daniel opened his eyes, Ariel was on the floor, her glow dim, but her eyes calm. It worked, she said weakly. For now. Daniel knelt beside her. What happens next? She looked at him with a faint smile. They will come again, stronger, but this time, I will be ready. And for the first time, Daniel believed her. The forest around the old house was no longer quiet. For 2 nights after Ariel's awakening, the sky above Greywood stayed alive with moving lights, cold, blue shapes that hummed softly, like a swarm of invisible bees. Daniel barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those ships hovering above the trees, watching, waiting. Ariel was weak again. The bright glow on her skin had faded into a pale shimmer. She could barely stand, but her eyes never stopped scanning the windows. They're close, she whispered often. They can smell me through light. Daniel didn't understand what that meant, but he believed her. He had seen what she could do. By the 3rd night, the humming sound grew louder. The old house trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Daniel looked outside. Through the broken glass, he saw 3 dark drones floating between the trees. Each one had a glowing blue core that pulsed like a heart. They've found us, Daniel said quietly. Ariel stood slowly. Her voice was calm but sharp. You must not fight them here. This house is a mark. They will burn it from above. Daniel frowned. Then we run. Ariel nodded weakly. There is a place where their vision cannot reach. The iron caves, beyond the ridge. Daniel grabbed a backpack, stuffed it with water, a flashlight, and the strange crystal she had given him earlier, a glowing fragment from her broken chains. Let's go. They stepped into the night. The air was cold and electric. The sound of the drones followed them. Hum, hum, hum. Always the same rhythm, like a heartbeat made of metal. Ariel's light flickered as she walked. Every step seemed to hurt her. Daniel held her arm gently, guiding her through the dark forest path. You okay? She nodded faintly. I am adjusting to freedom. My body was not meant to walk this much. They moved deeper into the woods. The tall trees stood like black towers, their branches blocking most of the moonlight. Somewhere behind them, one of the drones stopped humming. Silence fell, Daniel whispered. Why did it stop? Ariel's eyes widened. It has locked on. A beam of blue light suddenly cut through the forest, burning through branches like fire. Daniel threw himself to the ground, pulling Ariel down with him. The beam passed inches above their heads, scorching the air. Daniel gasped. They're firing at us. They don't miss twice, Ariel said weakly. Run. They sprinted through the trees, their shadows flashing under the blue beams. Daniel's heart pounded. The smell of smoke filled the air. Behind them, the drones moved faster, cutting through the forest like wolves hunting prey. Finally, the ground sloped downward. They reached a narrow stream. Ariel pointed ahead. Across there! The signal is weak beyond water. Daniel grabbed her hand and jumped across the stream, landing hard on the muddy bank. The drones hovered at the edge, scanning the water. Then slowly they drifted away. For a few moments there was silence again. Only the sound of rushing water and Daniel's heavy breathing. He turned to Ariel. We made it. She looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly. For now. They continued walking until the forest opened into a rocky valley. In the distance stood the entrance to a cave, wide, dark, and half-covered in vines. The rocks around it shimmered faintly as if touched by metal. Ariel touched the cave wall. Iron, she whispered. It blocks their vision. We are safe here. Daniel followed her inside. The cave was cool and deep, filled with echoes. The air smelled of stone and damp soil. He lit his flashlight. So what now? Ariel sat down on a rock. Now we wait. They will search the area. But soon they will bring the hunters. Daniel frowned. Hunters? Her expression darkened. They are not machines. They are my kind, but changed. Grown for one purpose only, to erase what disobeys. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. You mean, they're coming for you? Ariel looked at him quietly. No, Daniel. They're coming for both of us. He sat beside her, staring at the glowing crystal in his hand. It pulsed faintly, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. You said your people erase what resists them. Why us? Because you helped me, she said softly. In their eyes, that makes you dangerous. Daniel exhaled, trying to stay calm. Then we'll give them something to be afraid of. Ariel tilted her head, studying him. You would fight them. For me? Daniel nodded. You said humans have hope. Let's prove it. For the first time, Ariel smiled in a small, almost human smile. Then I will teach you. She lifted her hand and the crystal in Daniel's palm glowed brighter. Strange lines of light appeared in the air, forming patterns, circles and symbols that looked alive. What is this? Daniel asked. Knowledge, she said. Your machines cannot hurt theirs, but your sound can. The right frequency. It breaks their control. She drew a glowing line in the air. It vibrated softly, producing a deep tone that made the cave walls shake. Daniel covered his ears. What is that? Their weakness, Ariel whispered. If you can build something to make this sound louder, you can hurt them. Daniel stared at her. We can build that. I know a guy in town with radio parts. We just need time. Ariel looked toward the cave entrance. Then time is what I will give you. Outside, thunder rumbled again, not from clouds, but from the distant engines of the alien ships. Daniel looked at the glowing lines fading slowly in the air. His fear turned into determination. He didn't fully understand what was coming, why? But one thing was clear. Humanity was no longer alone. And somewhere above the clouds, the hunters had already begun to descend. The cave was silent except for the soft dripping of water and the faint hum coming from Ariel's glowing hands. Daniel sat across from her, surrounded by pieces of old electronics, broken radios, wires, and a small laptop he had pulled from his truck before escaping. Ariel's voice was calm but distant. We don't have much time. They are scanning for my signal. I can feel their eyes above the clouds. Daniel twisted a wire into place and looked up at her. You said we could send a message, not to them, but to warn humanity. Right? She nodded slowly. Yes. If I can use this device to reach your planet's network, I can send a code, a warning. But we must be careful. If they detect it, they'll trace it here. Daniel smiled weakly. Then let's make it fast. The air inside the cave shimmered faintly as Ariel reached toward the old radio parts. Her fingertips glowed blue, melting wires together with a soft hiss. The metal bent and reshaped under her touch, forming a circular disc with strange symbols carved into it. Daniel stared in awe. You're making a transmitter? Ariel nodded. A bridge between my mind and your machines. It will speak for me. Outside, thunder rolled again, not from weather, but from something large moving through the sky. The ground shook softly. Daniel swallowed hard. They're close. Ariel's eyes brightened. Then we finish this now. She placed her hands over the glowing disc. The metal pulsed with light. Daniel's laptop screen flickered to life, lines of strange code racing across it. Symbols Daniel couldn't understand. What's it saying? He asked. Ariel didn't look up. It's translating my thoughts into your language. Your people will see it soon. Across your screens, your satellites, your signals. The message will spread. Her voice trembled slightly as she whispered, They are coming. Hide your skies. Suddenly the lights on the screen went red. Daniel frowned. What's happening? Ariel's expression hardened. They found us. A deep humming filled the air. The cave walls began to vibrate. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Daniel grabbed the laptop and backed away. Outside the cave, flashes of blue light cut through the forest. Drones, hundreds of them, descending like a glowing storm. "They're surrounding us," he shouted. Ariel stood up, her body glowing brighter than ever before. "Keep the signal going. Don't stop no matter what happens." Daniel looked terrified. "What are you going to do?" Her voice was calm. "I will hold them." Before Daniel could argue, she stepped out of the cave. The blue glow from her body filled the valley like moonlight. The drones turned toward her, their lights sharpening into deadly beams. "Target acquired." A mechanical voice echoed through the trees. Ariel lifted her arms, and the air around her rippled. The first beam fired, but instead of hitting her, it bent sideways, striking the ground. Sparks exploded. The forest lit up with flashes of light. Daniel watched from the cave entrance, his heart pounding. He had never seen anything like it. The air itself seemed to obey her. Inside, the transmitter continued humming. The laptop screen flashed a single message in English now, repeating endlessly across networks. "They are coming." "Earth is not alone," Ariel screamed, a sound not of pain but of power. The trees around her shook as energy burst from her body in waves. Drones exploded mid-air, crashing into the ground like broken stars. Daniel rushed forward, shouting, "Ariel,
Stop! You'll burn yourself out!"
She turned toward him, her eyes glowing white. "It's the only way." A beam struck her shoulder and she fell to one knee. Daniel ran to her side, pulling her toward the cave. "We have to go." But she shook her head. "The message. It must finish." "Don't let them stop it." Daniel's hands trembled. "Please, you'll die." She smiled faintly. "Better I die free." Then chained again. Another beam cut through the trees, hitting the cave mouth. The explosion threw Daniel backward. Rocks tumbled, blocking part of the entrance. The laptop flickered, then showed one last line before the screen went dark. Message sent. The humming stopped. Outside, Ariel stood surrounded by burning drones. Her light was fading now, her silver skin cracked with glowing lines. Daniel crawled toward her through the smoke. She looked down at him with soft eyes. "You did it. Your world knows now." Daniel shook his head, tears in his eyes. "What about you?" She smiled weakly. "I am part of the signal now. My energy will travel with it. I will watch your skies." Her body began to dissolve into blue particles floating upward like dust in sunlight. "No," Daniel shouted, reaching out, but his hand passed through the glowing mist. Her voice echoed softly around him. "Don't let them win. Humanity must rise. You are stronger than you think." Then she was gone. Only light remained, drifting into the dark sky. Daniel fell to his knees. The drones were silent now, their lights fading. Above the forest, the alien ship stopped moving. For the first time, the sky looked peaceful again. But Daniel knew it was not over. The message had gone out, and somewhere out beyond the stars, someone had heard it. He looked at the broken laptop, at the last line glowing faintly before it died. "They are coming." Daniel took a deep breath, picked up Ariel's glowing crystal, and whispered, "Then we'll be ready." Outside, the wind carried her voice once more, faint, gentle, and eternal. "Hide your skies, Daniel. The war has begun." The world changed the moment the message appeared. Every television, every phone, every computer screen across the planet showed the same glowing words. "They are coming." At first, people thought it was a hack, a prank, or a strange advertisement. But when the skies started to hum and the clouds began to move without wind, no one laughed anymore. In the small town near Graywood Forest, Daniel sat on the roof of an old motel, holding Ariel's crystal tightly in his hand. It still glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. He hadn't slept in days. The invasion had begun. It started quietly. Strange lights over cities, power failures, aircraft vanishing from radars. Then came the storms, not of rain but of energy. Blue lightning danced across the sky, striking towers, melting cars, and leaving deep craters in the ground. Governments fell silent. Satellites stopped working. No one knew where the enemy was, only that they were everywhere. Daniel turned on the small radio beside him. Static filled the air, followed by a broken voice. "To all survivors, stay underground. Avoid blue light. The message cut off. Daniel looked up at the crystal. Ariel, he whispered. You said they'd come. What do I do now? The crystal pulsed softly, and a faint holographic image appeared. Ariel's face made of light. Daniel. Her voice echoed gently. They are here, but humanity can fight. You have what they fear most, sound. Daniel's heart raced. The frequency. You told me about it, she nodded. Their machines bend to sound. Their bodies resonate with it. You must build the weapon. Her image flickered, fading. Daniel grabbed his backpack and ran down from the roof. He knew exactly where to go. The workshop of an old friend, Ethan, a local radio engineer who once built transmitters for fun. When Daniel reached Ethan's shop, the doors were open, equipment scattered everywhere. Ethan was inside, staring at the sky through a shattered window. Daniel, he shouted. You're alive. Did you see what's happening out there? The whole world's gone crazy. Daniel placed the glowing crystal on the table. I know what's happening, and I know how to fight back, Ethan blinked. You've got a plan? Daniel nodded firmly. Ariel showed me. We can use sound waves and a specific frequency on to break their control. But we need a transmitter strong enough to reach miles. Ethan hesitated. Sound waves against alien ships? Are you serious? Daniel looked at him with fire in his eyes. It's either that or die hiding. Ethan stared at the crystal again. It glowed brighter, almost reacting to their words. Okay, he said finally. Let's do it. They worked through the night. Using old radio parts, amplifiers, and a broken satellite dish, they built something new. A massive sound generator connected to the crystal. Every time the machine powered up, the air shimmered faintly, like invisible waves moving through it. By morning, the ground outside trembled. Daniel climbed to the roof. In the distance, over the hills, he saw them. Dozens of black shapes descending from the clouds. Giant ships, smooth and silent, shaped like floating blades. They're here, he whispered. Ethan ran up beside him. Then let's give them a warm welcome. Daniel switched on the generator. The machine roared to life and a low, deep tone rolled across the valley. Not like any human sound. It was ancient, heavy, and alive. The air vibrated. The trees shook. The sky itself seemed to bend. Above them, the ships paused mid-air. Their blue glow flickered, then dimmed. It's working, Ethan shouted. It's actually working. Daniel pushed the controls higher. The tone grew louder, deeper. The ships began to shudder violently, their hulls cracking under invisible pressure. But then, the sound changed. A new higher pitch filled the air, coming from the ships themselves. They were fighting back. Daniel, Ethan screamed. They're jamming us. The crystal on the table glowed brighter, almost blinding. Daniel ran to it, shouting over the noise. Ariel! What do we do? Her voice echoed faintly through the chaos. Hold the sound. Do not stop. The light will guide you. Daniel grabbed the controls, his hands shaking. The roof split under the pressure. Wind howled through the town. The largest ship descended, hovering directly above them. Its underside opened, revealing a massive glowing core. Blue lightning shot down, striking the generator. Ethan was thrown backward, the machine sparking wildly. Daniel held on, yelling, Come on, come on! The crystal exploded in light. A wave of energy burst outward. A blinding flash of white that raced through the valley, through the town, through the sky. Every alien ship froze mid-air. Their lights flickered, then one by one they fell, crashing into forests, rivers, and empty fields. Silence followed. Daniel collapsed beside the broken machine, gasping for air. Ethan crawled up next to him, eyes wide. Did we do it? Daniel looked up at the sky. The clouds were clearing, the blue glow gone. For the first time in days, sunlight touched his face. He smiled weakly. Yeah, we did it. But then, far above the clouds, a new shadow moved, larger, darker, and silent. It didn't glow. It didn't hum. It just watched. Daniel's smile faded. No, he whispered. That wasn't the fleet. That was only the first wave. The ground rumbled again. The air turned cold. Ariel's faint voice echoed from the broken crystal, soft but firm. They're sending their true army now. Daniel stood, eyes burning with determination. Then we'll be ready. This time, Earth fights back. The camera would fade out on him standing under the sun, surrounded by the ruins of alien ships. humanity's first victory. But not the last, because the war had just begun. The world was burning, but not dying. A week after the first alien fleet fell, the skies above Earth turned gray. The air still hummed with strange energy. Cities were silent, broken, and scared, yet still alive. Humanity had survived the first strike. Daniel stood on a hill overlooking what was once Greywood Town. The wreckage of alien ships lay scattered across the valley, black metal twisted like melted glass. The sunlight reflected off their shattered hulls. He held Ariel's cracked crystal tightly in his hand. It no longer glowed, but he could still feel a faint warmth. Sometimes, when the wind was quiet, he could almost hear her voice whispering. "They will come again," she had said. And they did. At night, Daniel saw them, new ships appearing above the clouds, larger and darker than before. These ones didn't hum. They didn't scan or beam. They just floated, silent and patient, like predators studying prey. Across the world, survivors began to gather. Soldiers, engineers, scientists. All of them had seen Ariel's warning. Her message had reached every corner of Earth before the signal was cut, and now humanity was no longer running. They were building. Daniel stood in the middle of a huge underground bunker, once an old mining site. Now it was filled with humans working side by side, welding metal, tuning radio devices, and assembling strange machines that hummed with low vibrations. Ethan rushed up beside him, covered in grease and sweat. "The frequency towers are ready," he said. "Once they're active, we can spread the resonance across the continent." Daniel nodded. "Good. That'll mess with their control systems." "We hit them where it hurts," Ethan gave a tired grin. "Never thought I'd see the day humans fight aliens with music." Daniel smiled faintly. "Sound saved us once. It'll save us again." Outside, the earth began to tremble. A loud boom echoed in the sky. One of the new ships was descending. The ground shook as it broke through the clouds, larger than any before. It was miles wide, casting a shadow that covered the valley like night. People started to panic. "It's the mothership!" someone shouted. Daniel grabbed a microphone and spoke through the loudspeakers. His voice echoed through the bunker. "Listen up. We've been running for too long. Not today. Today we fight for every life still breathing on this planet. We fight for Earth, for humanity." Cheers rose through the chaos. For the first time, fear turned into fire. As the alien ship hovered above, its underside opened, revealing hundreds of smaller drones dropping like black rain. Blue light streaked across the ground. Daniel ran to the control station. "Power the towers!" Ethan flipped the main switch. One by one, the giant sound towers across the valley lit up, their bases glowing orange. A deep tone rolled through the earth like thunder crawling from underground. The drones froze mid-air. Their lights flickered. "It's working," a soldier shouted. But then a piercing screech echoed from the mothership, a sound so sharp it broke glass and made blood drip from human ears. The towers shook violently. Daniel held his head in pain. "They're countering it!" The alien ship released bright pulses of light, energy waves that melted everything in their path. One tower exploded, then another. Ethan coughed through smoke. "We can't hold it, Daniel." Daniel looked at the cracked crystal in his hand, Ariel's last gift. The faint warmth pulsed again like a heartbeat. Her voice echoed softly in his mind. "If I fall, this will finish them." Daniel's eyes widened. "The crystal. It's a weapon." He ran outside, clutching it tightly. The ground burned under his boots. The mothership loomed above, its glowing eye charging another beam. Daniel climbed onto the wreckage of a fallen drone and held the crystal high. "You want this world? Come take it," he shouted. The crystal exploded with light brighter than the sun. A beam of pure energy shot from it into the sky, piercing straight through the alien ship's core. The air vibrated violently. A shock wave ripped across the valley. The ship began to break apart, slowly at first, then all at once. It twisted, cracked, and fell, burning as it crashed into the mountains with a deafening roar. The shock wave rolled across the land, knocking every drone out of the air. Silence followed. Deep, endless silence. Daniel dropped to his knees, breathing heavily. The crystal in his hand had turned to dust. Ethan ran to him, coughing through smoke. "You did it." "You really did it." Daniel looked up at the sky. The dark clouds were fading. Sunlight broke through once more, washing over the ruins. For the first time in weeks, the air was still. He smiled weakly. No, we did it. Humanity did. Ethan looked around at the other survivors emerging from bunkers, their faces dirty but filled with hope. What now? He asked. Daniel stood slowly, staring at the distant horizon. Now we rebuild. We remember. And if they ever come again, he clenched his fists. They'll find out what humans can do. A soft breeze brushed his face. He heard a faint voice, gentle and familiar, carried by the wind. Humans were worth saving. Daniel looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you, Ariel." The camera would pan upward and showing the sky clearing. Light spreading over a wounded but living world, and high above the clouds, a single star flickered, brighter than all others. As if watching Ariel's light, humanity had survived. Humanity had fought back. And this time, humanity had won.